One of the most annoying things about meeting new people is you never really know whether or not the person you're talking to actually likes you or is only just pretending to like you. They could smile to your face, they could shake your hand, they could be nice, they could be polite, but in their heads, they actually absolutely hate you, right? And one way to kind of get around this problem, to kind of dig past the superficial level of someone's personality, is to simply ask them, what kind of music do you listen to? What are your top 5 favorite songs? And by doing that, you can start to get to know who this person really is. And the same can be said about culture, right? A lot of people say that culture copies art, and that's true. And so if you take a look at Eastern culture, you take a look at the East, Buddhism, Hinduism, and you take a look at the ways that these cultures portray their saints and sages. I'm talking about Buddha. I'm talking about Hindu sages, Hindu monks. You will typically see this recurring theme. And what it is typically a man sitting down cross-legged with his eyes closed, and he is looking inward. He's looking within himself. And if you contrast that to the Christian iconography, you tend to see a typically rather different picture. You see someone with their eyes wide open, and sometimes they're holding a sword, sometimes they're holding a spear, and they are on the prowl. They're watchful. They're seeking outwardly. They're looking outwardly. So what is it about Eastern religion that kind of creates this imagery of people looking within themselves? And what is it about Christianity that creates this imagery of people looking outside of themselves? And if you consider Eastern religion, what you will find is that when you ask someone in the East, right, if you ask a Hindu or a Buddhist, what is God, right? There's different ideas. But one recurring theme that you find is that everything is God. I'm God, you're God, this microphone is God, gravity is God, right? In the Eastern zeitgeist, in the Eastern tradition, God is often pantheistic. Everything is God, the universe is God. And one analogy that people usually use to describe this is this analogy of the infinite ocean, right? You have the infinite ocean, and we're all little droplets from the infinite ocean. And once we die, our droplet goes and dissolves back into the infinite ocean that is God, or infinite consciousness, right? Okay. So when you are a human being, right, and you want to become one with God, and you are part of the Eastern tradition, what you're going to want to do is, as much as you can, while you're still alive, dissolve your little droplet into the infinite sea. And you do that by going inwards. You dissolve yourself, right? And by doing so, you hope to attain enlightenment. Sometimes it's called moksha. Sometimes it's called nirvana, right? And then you get to dissolve and be part of the infinite ocean, right? And if you contrast that to the idea of God in Christianity, God is separate and individual from the universe. He exists outside of the universe, right? And so as a human being, I are separate from God. And so if you want to be a part of God, you can't, dissolve into yourself like you could in the East. You have to go and sprint to God. You have to run towards God. And this sort of language is used in the Bible by Paul when he writes one of his epistles. He says, we're running a marathon. We gotta go. We gotta go. There's things to do. And the reason why there's things to do is because something is rotten in the land of Denmark. Something ain't right. In Christianity, there is this fundamental idea that something went wrong. There is the fall, right? Something's not right. And we got to go out there and we got to fix it. We got to do our best to deal with this problem. And not only that, if you take a look at Eastern tradition, specifically Chinese tradition, you find this idea of yin and yang, right? Light and dark. And in the East, yin and yang, light and dark, there's really no idea or perception that one of these is better than the other. These two forces, light and dark, kind of balance one another. They balance each other out. And, no one's to say whether dark is better than light or light's better than dark. If you contrast that to Christianity, there's a very strong idea of good and evil, and good versus evil. And evil exists, and we have to be good, and we have to defeat evil. We need to conquer evil. We need to resist against evil, right? And so since that's the case, right, there's something to be done. If you can't say that light is better than dark or dark is better than light, as is often, understood in Eastern religion and philosophy, then there's really nothing that needs to be done here, right? So, it's typical to respond to what I'm saying by saying, hey, Andrew, wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. What about Arjuna? Who's Arjuna, you might ask? In India, there is this long ancient epic called the Mahabharata. And in it is a tale of the Bhagavad Gita, which is a story about a young prince who's named Arjuna. And his dad dies the king. And so now it's Arjuna's turn to become king. But there's a little problem for our young prince. And the problem is his cousins and his uncles, they want the throne too. They're like, Arjuna, no, you don't. We want to be the kings. And Arjuna says, no, that's my dad. I need to be king. That's my rightful, place as heir. And so they kind of fight about it. They argue about it. They go to war, right? They can't figure it out. And so Arjuna straps up, he puts on his boots, he puts on his armor, he grabs his sword, he's ready to go, and he gets in his chariot, and, you've got a little horse, pulling this chariot towards his enemies, and he's ready, and, he's prepared. And then when he gets close enough to see the faces of his uncles and make them out. Oh, look, there's Uncle Billy. There's Uncle Tommy. There's Cousin Ranjit. And he sees them out and he makes out their faces. He breaks down. He just totally breaks down. He falls and he's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. These are my family members. These are my uncles. These are my cousins. I can't go out there and fight them. It would be better for me to lay down and let them kill me, or I could just go out, into a mountain somewhere, run away into a mountain somewhere and meditate for the rest of my life. And it was at that moment that Arjuna's charioteer, the guy kind of driving the chariot, steering the horse, reveals himself to be God, Krishna, a Hindu god. And Krishna says to Arjuna, yo, Arjuna, quit being a little girl. Cast off this unmanliness of yours. What are you doing? You've got a duty to do. You've got your dharma. Why are you being a little girl? And Arjuna says, dude, look, I can't do this. These are my family members. These are my cousins. These are my uncles. I can't kill them. What do you mean? Kill my uncles and kill my cousins? And Krishna says, listen, man, look, we're all part of the infinite sea. We're all part of this infinite ocean. We're all little droplets. We're all going to go back into the infinite ocean, and it's fine. Don't worry about it. And all your cousins and all your uncles were reincarnated into your cousins and our uncles and will be reincarnated again until the end of time, right? So don't worry about it. Plus, it's your duty. Go do your duty. And Arjuna says, that sounds good to me. And Arjuna goes ahead and he slaughters his uncles and he slaughters his cousins and he becomes king. And so it's like, well, Andrew, obviously you've got Arjuna, who's doing the same thing that you see a lot of these saints in Christian iconography doing, a lot of these angels in Christian iconography doing. And the way I would respond to that is I would say, well, that's true. But Krishna said to Arjuna that this is your duty, this is your dharma. What was stopping Arjuna from saying, no, it's not. My duty is to go out and be a monk in a cave. What's Krishna going to say? he can't say, no, that's wrong, because remember what we said earlier, there is no conception of good and evil or right or wrong. There's only a conception of yin and yang, light and darkness that are balancing each other. And, it's not inherent that one is better than the other. And when you're missing that, transcendence or that preference for good over evil, then you have no reason to kind of say that this is what must be done. And Arjuna could very much have said that, no, my duty is to go meditate. That's my duty. What's Krishna can say to him, no, that's wrong? He can't say that because there is no conception of right or wrong. Sorry about that. My doorbell rang. And so, like I was saying, Christianity kind of creates this fixed vision. And one of the problems with a lot of secular philosophy is you can easily find yourself on this hamster wheel, right? One day you're a Nietzschean, the next day you're a Tolstoyan, the next day you read some Aristotle and you're an Aristotelian, then you read some Spinoza and you're a Spinozan. And even if you're not reading the original texts, if you go ahead and you even browse YouTube videos, you see people all of the time giving contradictory advice. Why you need to be a stoic and, be kind of hard about things. And then the next day you'll be like, no, you'll hear a video about how you need to relax. And, there's all of this conflicting advice and all these conflicting ideas. And what it can often do, especially nowadays, is kind of keep people in this hamster wheel. And it's definitely something that's happened to me. And so I'm going to talk about that in a later video. If you want to hear more about that, hit all of the buttons. I don't even know all of the buttons anymore. There's some bells and icons and subscribes and comments and all that sort of stuff. Do all the things. And we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.